Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video.
Unusual behavior from wife. To begin, I work nights and she works the day shift. Her employment is a male-dominated sector, and she seems to spend more time with coworkers. There is female support workers in areas such as the office, parts room, and so on. We're both in our 40s and have been together for 17 years. She just recently began working, so a workplace connection would not have presented itself in the past. She's been spending a lot of time with her female employees after work lately. She gets off work at 5 p.m. and doesn't come home until about 7 to 8 p.m. She didn't get home till the morning a few times because she got drunk with them and slept it off. That's odd since she's typically quite responsible and doesn't get carried away in social settings. I'm not really worried at this time. I wasn't scheduled to work last night, so I went to bed at a regular time. At 3 a.m., her iPhone screen woke me up in bed. I couldn't tell whether she was texting or surfing the internet, and she wasn't doing anything sneaky with her screen, such as angling it away, etc., so it's most likely benign. Then she stood up and began getting ready for work. Her shift now begins at 8 a.m., and she wouldn't need to leave sooner than 7 a.m. if she wanted to get a snack before heading in. I thought your shift didn't start until 8. I inquired. She was aware of this, but said that she was going for a stroll with her coworkers before work. She's a diesel mechanic, and they wear uniforms to work, so she seemed to be more cleaned up than usual for a stroll or work. I'm not dressed up, but yes. She was out of the home by 4 a.m. and would most likely be at her friend's place by 4:30. It's still extremely dark, and it's raining/drizzling outside, with a temperature of 45 degrees. In Arizona, no one has a raincoat. As a result, the weather would be unsuitable for a stroll. She drives a truck, whereas I drive a vehicle. So, about 5 p.m., I contacted her and asked if I could borrow the vehicle to transport some items to the landfill. She didn't respond. I phoned 15 minutes later to inquire. She said that they were still out on their stroll, but that they should simply come to her job when she arrived and grab it then. Whether it hadn't been raining, I would have thought it would be a wonderful time to observe if her hair was wet after a second shower. My brain operates a little differently than other people's, and I'm bad at reading social signs, for example. Is this something I'm overthinking? Update: I challenged her by requesting her phone. She attempted to change the script by demanding my phone and the password, so I handed it to her. I have nothing to conceal, and I don't even have time to meet new people. Anyway, I went through her texts and saw that the one discussion I intended to have was conveniently omitted. So I entered her phone number, and her boyfriend's or whoever's name appeared. I gave her the phone and told her I wanted to view his text messages with her. She appeared surprised, but I told her everything I knew, such as how she texted him before leaving the house today and when she returned, and how I knew she was with him when she was purportedly in Vegas. She pretended she didn't understand why our phone company had many pages of messaging logs between her and him. I walked upstairs and informed her I was packing a suitcase and going since she didn't want to do anything except storm off upstairs and withdraw to her bed. I gathered my belongings and departed. Story 2. I have cancer and my wife has been cheating on me for 6 months. I had a date Saturday that I didn't go on and I'm glad I didn't. I realize this is a bit of a ramble, but I don't know where else to put it, and I want to get it out there. On December 15th of last year, I was diagnosed with stage 2 testicular cancer, which had progressed to my lymph nodes. At the time, I was happily married and engaged in what I believed would be a heroic struggle against cancer with my wife. Nevertheless, this was not the case. Prior to the disease, she began broadcasting on Twitch and supposedly met a man. I'm not going to delve into details since I'm above it, and that's not the objective of this essay. 33-year-old cowards who stay at home and make fun of terminally sick cancer patients seem to be beautiful. I'm not sure why, after 13 years together, 9 years of marriage, and a kid, my wife chose to desert us in the midst of chemo treatments, deplete our financial accounts, and leave me to care for our son alone while undergoing treatment, but that's exactly what happened. She has a mental disease, bipolar with psychosis and schizoaffective disorder, which is exacerbated by THC usage, which she was highly involved in throughout my treatment, but I'm sick of making excuses for her bad conduct. I offered therapy for 6 months. For 6 months, I refused to notice the indications that were there in front of my face while she informed me she wasn't cheating. On my last day of treatment, May 15th, I discovered a parking ticket from his vehicle in her wallet. So, while I was being shot with poison in order to survive another day, she was out cheating. Throughout therapy, she continued to deceive and mislead me. She kept leaving for days at a time to visit him. She dismissed me from our health insurance despite the fact that I need a life-saving procedure known as RPLND to permanently eliminate the cancer. Her indifference to me morphed into outright antagonism to my very existence. I didn't accept any of this until a few weeks ago, when I stopped being ignorant to my circumstances and put everything together via messages, call records from our phone bill, bank account information, and a general inability to believe what was going right in front of me. She moved in with him and lives just a football field away, but I have an order of protection in place to protect myself and my kid since she refuses to return to her medicines for her sickness and is most likely doing narcotics. She also stole SSI money attributed to our kid, autism, in order to enable this relocation, but I've already reported her for that and changed the payee to myself to prevent future complications. As you would expect, learning about all of this, or just accepting it, knocked me for a loop. I reasoned that if she has been cheating for 6 months, the marriage has basically died for that time period, therefore it's okay if I go on a date or two. I downloaded various applications, signed up for certain things, chatted to a bunch of wonderful ladies, and even had some dates planned, including this past Saturday. At the last minute, I decided against going and instead went out with some old friends my wife had burnt when we attempted an intervention for her. I apologized for all that had transpired and was able to repair a bridge that I believed had been destroyed forever. I uninstalled all of the applications and suspended or canceled all of my accounts. It's a bummer since I met and chatted with several very nice women who may have been great for me. Unfortunately, who I am today is someone who still loves who my wife was, and it would be unjust to anybody searching for a meaningful commitment if I did not. Oh, and please don't get the wrong impression. I'd never take her back. I can't think of anything more heinous than cheating on a spouse who is through chemotherapy, as well as removing the greatest opportunity I have of surviving the process with the best possible prospects. My prospects of a successful operation are good, but they would have been greater if she hadn't dropped me from insurance and postponed the procedure. In any case, I've chosen to honor the promises I made. Prior to her, and throughout my adolescence, I had cheated on practically every lady I had ever dated. I used to be a S-bag. When I married, I said I would never cheat again, and I've kept that commitment to my wife and, more importantly, to myself. The most crucial aspect of a promise, in my opinion, is maintaining it even though you are the only one who is accountable for it. She deceived me in my worst hour and most likely given me PTSD, but I'm going to remember the girl she was, not the monster she has become. More significantly, I now have a little son to raise on my own. I need to provide a good example for him to follow. When he's ready to speak about the entire thing, when he's able to comprehend it, I want to be able to look him in the eyes and have no regrets about how I handled myself. I want to be the person he believes I am, or as close to it as possible. Don't misunderstand me. I'll think about it when the divorce is eventually filed, decreed, litigated, and completed and she no longer bears my name. Even still, for the time being, the emphasis of my time and resources must be on him. I understand how it feels to be undesired by a parent, and he, sadly, does as well. I'm not sure how to explain to him why mom doesn't love him and want to speak to him. She's permitted to text and phone, but she doesn't. Why things are the way they are, all I can do is set a good example. He will always bear my name, but she will not. I applied for a federal position that needed a secret clearance about a year ago, before the illness, and just learned that the inquiry was ruled in my favor, which means I'll be a federal agent. It's ironic that a dream I've had since I was 12 only comes true after the toughest difficulty of my life, but at least something went right. Since I found out, this has been the most soothing thing I've done. Thank you for taking the time to read this far into my tale.